Welcome back to another video. In this update, we're going to be taking a look at the tropics and pretty much be looking at not just this tropical wave, but we do have a few more behind this one that is showing some signs down the road that could become a threat to the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean, or near the Bahamas or Bermuda. So let's get into this one. So basically, National Hurricane Center has an area for 60%. I do expect this to maybe hit 70 later tonight or early tomorrow morning. And right now, the cone is pretty much what the National Hurricane Center has. It can go north of the islands. Right now, I do think it is definitely possible that the system moves north of the islands, kind of hit west, go into the Bahamas. But I think it could ride the Florida coast, Georgia coast, and South Carolina. But this is more of a question mark out in here on this part of the forecast. But we do know this is going to get pretty close to Puerto Rico, the islands, the Dominican, and the Bahamas that we're going to really have to watch. 2 days ago, I made a video, and if you guys been tracking on the satellite imagery, you guys can tell this tropical wave was nearly non-existent. The only thing you guys saw was a dry air Saharan dust wrap. So there was a pretty much a broad area of vicious swirling in the upper levels and mid levels, but in the last 24 hours, I would say the moisture field in this has continued to become more into tapping into the moisture from the tropics. So you could tell here today, this has quite a bit more moisture than what we were dealing with out here. We had a swirl like in the Saharan dust like this. Alright. Now this is the system, a lot more moisture, especially out ahead of it, that is moisturing up the atmosphere. Alright. Where is the main level of circulation? If you could tell, it's kind of hard to see, but the main circulation is around this area. It has been continuing to make progress to the north, but we're going to have to watch and see how this continues to move. Does it do something like this? Or does it move like this? Right now, what I'm looking at, I think this is going to go north of Puerto Rico. Maybe ride just north of Puerto Rico and continue to gain latitude. But you can tell some of these cloud drops and these showers and thunderstorms and some of these bands trying to make it to Puerto Rico and the northern islands here. You can tell cloud tops are definitely getting to about 50,000 feet to maybe even 60,000 feet. Near the core, there is definitely still dry air, and there is dry air still in the low levels in this, so I do not expect any major development anytime soon. But as I keep looking at this, it tells me each day the wave is surviving and the wave is trying to stay alive. All right. You can tell there's a very still broad circulation within that low-level center. If we take a look at the cloud tops here, let this just load. There it is. Doesn't look like anything on cloud tops really. You can tell there's some showers and thunderstorms still, but this is pretty much of the circulation right here. It continues to move pretty much north here. So there it is. Some convection to the southern side. Some northern convection on this side. It's trying to wrap itself. You can tell even some more thunderstorms moving like this. So there's definitely circulation within this. And then you can tell this is that Saharan dust really thriving out over here. There's that tropical wave continuing to move like this right there. So this is definitely bringing some dryer with it, but it is, you could tell, doing something like that. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is this low is going to continue to move north, get teleported in this more in this deeper convection, and then we're going to start seeing more development. Once the core can get a nice, vicious vortice, low-level center, and the precipitation starts coming into the mix of this, this could begin to develop, but I do not think that's going to happen until closer to the Bahamas or just even past Puerto Rico. So now let's take a look at some things here. We're going to be taking a look at some models, so just stay tuned, alright? So we're going to take a look at the GFS. Why not? So there it is, the low-level center wave right here. I mean, this will be pretty much right, kind of like where I just marked that. Definitely some drier still out in this area. We're going to have to watch. This is a sad face of no good here for tropical waves. You can tell there's some broad rotation down here. Moving like this. Alright. So that's pretty interesting. We got some tropical moisture coming into there. So far, it's pretty much right. But the wave, according to the GFS, never develops. It actually makes impact into Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. Once again, this one goes into the Gulf. And look, see, so we kind of have a wave that kind of, with the GFS, just suffocates itself and then come out of here, but weirdly then cross the whole Gulf into Texas. That is pretty much the wave that the GFS has, and not a single other model supports that. So right now, I am not agreeing with the GFS here. There's that tropical wave. Look at that, and then it rides there as a tropical storm, and then makes landfall in Texas. This is a very weird track here with the GFS. I'm not really going with the GFS right now. A lot of other people saying the GFS is probably wrong. That's probably more of an outlier than anything. But if we keep going, there's some more vicious tropical waves that comes off Africa. Definitely some dry air and Saharan dust. But there's that tropical wave. Boom, that. And then you can tell we do get a tropical wave. Another one from the MDR. This is another one actually too. But we get a tropical wave right here. It gets going into the Gulf. And it doesn't show any major development out of it. But there's definitely a wave that makes landfall in Texas. Alright. And even after that, the moisture field in the NDR looks pretty moist. And the atmosphere is looking pretty conducive. If we look at the Saharan dust and the dryer 384 hours out, wow, this looks very concerning because the moisture field in this is pretty non-existent. There's definitely some dry air, but nothing too crazy. There's that tropical wave over here in the Gulf, goes through, hits Louisiana and Texas. Then you can tell another tropical wave right here. So this is another tropical wave. This is another tropical wave. If there's more moisture in this one, we can see some development out of this one. Another tropical wave right there. So the GFS maybe has no tropical storm, or maybe not even a depression, but it shows some pretty vicious waves going through the Atlantic, and especially as we get into August 15th, even another wave, very strong looking, comes off Africa. If we take a look at the wind shear at this far out, there's really no wind shear, alright? The conditions are pretty favorable, so we're going to have to watch that too, alright? If we take a look at another long-range model, this is the AI version of the European, a longer version of it, develops this system, alright? Develops this one pretty close to the Bahamas, rides the Florida's coast, moves out, becomes a hurricane, does a little loopy-loop. That's one thing for sure. You can tell there's another tropical wave right there. If we continue to watch that, goes through the Western Antilles. We're going to have to watch that because that one could end up going in the Gulf right here. And look at that. 282 is out. There's the wave in the Gulf of Mexico. And if we looked at the GFS, the wave is there too. So all these two models both have a wave entering the Gulf. And we're going to have to really watch that. And then you can tell this becomes a Category 1 hurricane. Moves out. Doesn't really impact. Maybe some big waves and some tropical storm force winds. But then you could tell even further out, we see even more tropical development. We see another wave that comes off Africa here. So, and then even another wave. So, with these two models telling me that the favorability in the Atlantic is starting to wake up. Alright. And this wave could be the beginning of that. Alright. So, let's take a look at the Canadian model. This is the CMC for short. Alright. Doesn't really show anything with this system anymore, actually. It does, but not really. It hits Florida, rides to Florida's coast, but does not even develop into South Carolina here. Last run was all the way near Georgia when it started development. You can tell more tropical waves come off. This one rides the coast as a tropical storm. Hitting the Outer Banks as a pretty much 1,007, 1,006. So definitely 40, 50 mile an hour winds. This one rides it up. Doesn't become too strong. Maybe a 50 mile an hour tropical storm at most. And then it's on its way out. Alright. We look further out. Nothing really. Just a bit more of moisture with the Canadian here on the latest model. If we take a look at the icon on this. This is the 18Z coming out. We're going to take a look at the 12Z here. And what I see is pretty interesting. Let this just load it. There's the tropical wave. Moves north of Puerto Rico, alright? It pretty much does this. It rides Puerto Rico like that. And then it kind of develops right here. And then shoom. Does something like that, alright? With the icon. But the question is, does it go north of the islands? Because if it does, and the favorability is a little bit more earlier, I do see maybe a depression developing right before the Bahamas. It is possible, but a very low chance. But there's the icon. Pretty much rides to Florida's coast, strengthens, and then moves out as a pretty strong tropical storm to a Category 1 hurricane. But just like with the other models, this one kind of moves slow. Alright, so it's not the only model showing that. And then nothing really out 180 hours out besides that storm. Alright. So now let's take a look at the European. This is a brand new fresh data model. So we're going to take a look at the vorticity and then take a look at the precip. Alright. So there it is. Tropical wave moves through the islands. Kind of struggles. This one's a bit more south of the icon. Gets out of the Dominican. Moves north. Not too strong in the Bahamas. But it does strengthen slowly. And this does eventually become a tropical storm or depression off the Florida's coast and South Carolina's coast. Moves north. Rides the coast. And then moves pretty much out to sea. Moves pretty slow. Tries and come back. We're going to have to watch the northeast in this too. This is now a hurricane. And then it moves on out. But then you can tell 240 hours out. We get another tropical wave that comes off Africa. Alright. So, nothing too much with the European main model this far out. But we're going to have to watch. Alright. We take a look at precip on this. There it is. A lot of precip. Definitely showers and thunderstorms. But this will strengthen into definitely a Category 1 hurricane. But we're going to have to watch out the northeast. But if we look further out. There it is, you guys. That wave comes off. And boom, we get a low-level center here. So there is chances of more tropical waves. Alright, that's the bottom line. Favorability is becoming a little bit better, so we're going to have to watch more than just the system. Alright, so that's all the main models. Now I'm going to let you take a look at the ensembles. because these ensembles mean a lot when you're looking out in further out range. Alright, so we take a look here. There it is. The European has some ensembles developing into Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, or just going north of these islands, and those models that go north of the islands develops a little bit quicker. That's why I'm saying maybe just north of Puerto Rico, a little bit past, where we could be seeing a depression, because some of the ensembles support that. But if we continue, we see some little lows right here, but there it is. Those are all the ensembles. A lot more ensembles than the previous run, and a bit stronger, alright? If we take a look out at 240 hours out, right? Boom. There it is. We see some ensembles support 240 hours out for that wave. But one thing that I was talking about a little bit earlier, we get an area of low pressure that moves in that wave over here, comes in the Caribbean, and there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 models with the European ensembles does show a potential disturbance moving into the Gulf of Mexico. Alright, we're going to have to watch. But you don't see any more ensembles into the Gulf of Mexico. Maybe a few, but not too many. You look at this storm over here with the European ensembles. Yeah, a lot closer in this run than the last run. You can tell a lot more of landfalls. And we're going to have to look, because if we look at the 0Z cycle, yeah, a bit more out to sea. And quite a few strong ensembles. Members, take a look at this one. Closer and strong. Alright, so we're going to have to watch the shift to the west. Alright, but now let's take a look a little bit more into the tropics, because I know you guys are like, alright, those are just models. Is there support to it? Alright, and the answer is yes. There is very quite a bit. Alright, so let's take a look. Oh wow, I did not see that. The tropical chances here. Some severe weather. If you guys want me to make a video on severe weather, I can do that too. But favorability is within the MJO. Alright, we're going to have to look at the MJO and stuff as the Madden-Julia oscillation becomes a little bit more conducive. Alright, so let's take a look at the Saharan dust right now. We're going to stop it. Boom. So, wow. You guys, look at that. Very crazy. We look at what this system was before, alright? And look at it now. Look at the Saharan dust. This wave is definitely going to have a chance, I think. Because what we were seeing a few days ago with this, look how much more moisture is in the atmosphere now. That is very remarkable of where we were at with this wave. So right now what the system is doing is squeezing all the dry air out and bringing fresh moisture. And with these warmer waters out ahead of it, not too much wind shear, the conditions are favorable for beginning development. And I think once we start seeing that wave with deep thunderstorm convection, it's going to be easier on the models to predict on what's going to happen with this system. But I'm telling you right now, it is definitely possible, alright, for some tropical development. We take a look at the wind shear. We take a look at the shear intensity. There it is. Near the Florida coast, the Bahamas, not too much wind shear. North of Puerto Rico, there is some wind shear out ahead of this system right now. There's a little bit of wind shear, but right now this is in favorable condition of not too much wind shear. And with that, it's helping the development. So if there's not too much wind shear that gets into this in the next coming days, this is going to continue to thrive and gain a moisture bubble, and we're most likely going to watch the development of this system a little bit sooner than some of the models are talking about. All right, so there's the vorticity becoming stronger now. The southern vorticity here is stronger. We've been watching this. That northern vorticity right here, it has become weaker, and more of the dominant here is becoming over here. Alright, so we're going to have to watch that too. More vorticity over here. Alright, but that's just a major thing. If we take a look at the MJO forecast, let's now take a look at the MJO forecast. Alright, the Madden-Julie oscillation. What's going to happen? Basically, I'm trying to get a good model. There it is. The favorability does end up going into the Western Hemisphere and Africa, and it could stall around there or come back. It has a bit of doing both. It does come in and then come back into the neutral phase on the European look of things. Let's move that back. That is forecast precipitation. There it is, right there. It could stall in phases 1 and 8. Right there is the MJO. So a favorable MJO is ahead. If you guys want another detail update forecast tomorrow, please let me know, alright? So thank you guys for all your support. Please keep a track on this system, because as night comes, this is just going to help the favorability of these showers and thunderstorms to become more producive. You can tell as night comes, we're seeing some more convection trying to develop just near the center of this low-level center that has pretty much thrived through dead areas, alright? It's been a swirl for quite a while now. But look at the last few frames. A bit on my side where we see that huge blow up definitely near the center, and even when the sun goes down, a lot of this tropical wave really starts strengthening. So this could be the beginning of the development of this tropical wave. But that's going to wrap it up, you guys. Thank you guys for 50 subscribers. Next goal is 100.